Really excited to be here today and so thrilled with Local First for addressing this really important issue. So want to also welcome our panelists today, but just start with a little bit of framing. Thomas already gave some statistics about the importance of this issue and why we're addressing it here today. But want to bring it really into Arizona. The scope of this issue is significant here in our state. We have the fifth highest rate of imprisonment. 790 people for every 100,000 people are in prison in the state of Arizona. As of July 2020, it was 39,340 people, 50% of which are just on their first felony. And so we really need to understand that there are a lot of people currently imprisoned. And when these folks come out of prison, what are we doing to ensure that they have employment, ensure that we're welcoming them back into the community and finding opportunities for them? So I want to go ahead and introduce our panel today. I'm going to first ask everyone to really let us know their name, their company, and specifically what it is that their company is doing now to address this specific issue. So I'm going to go from left to right on my screen and start with Aaron.
Hi, thanks for having me. So my name is Aaron Cheatham. I am the reentry manager for Hickman's Family Farms and the executive director of the newly formed nonprofit Reentry Community of Hope. And this was a nonprofit created under the guidance of Hickman's Family Farms. And our mission is simple: let's reduce recidivism. We do that in a very unique way, and that's by providing housing, providing employment, providing a comprehensive case management, all in one central location, so that so that we're breaking down those barriers that stop people from moving forward in life.
Thank you so much, Aaron. Joel?
Hi, good morning. My name is Joel Conger. I'm the Director of System Transformation for Magellan Complete Care of Arizona. We're one of the 7 Access Complete Care plans that came to be back in October of 2018. And as a Medicaid complete care plan, we're obviously focused on providing that full array of integrated services and really understanding our membership and what are those social determinants of health that are driving folks to not be, living their most healthy life. And I think Aaron brought up a great point and the services that they provide. And it really is as fundamental as looking at those basics, the housing, the employment, the financial resources. And if folks don't have that, their likelihood of living their best life is really going to be challenged. And this, I believe, this really is underscored for our membership who have come in contact with the criminal justice system, and they're trying to start anew, coming out of whether it's Department of Corrections or if they've been in the county for any length of time. And so our role is really to just try and understand what are going to be their biggest challenges they're facing and engage as early as possible, so that we're able to assist with that transition and get folks back to where they want to be. And employment is such a huge component there. So part of our role as a payer in that Medicaid space is making sure that our provider networks understand the complexities of our membership and that they're able to work with them individually and really identify what are the challenges, and then do their best in partnership to identify potential partnerships or employment opportunities rather. So coming at this from a little different perspective than some of my other fellow panelists, but look forward to the rest of the discussion.
Great, thank you, Joel. Vicki?
Yeah, my name is Vicki Campo, and I am with Justice Java, Cold Brew with a Cause. We are a mobile coffee company that serves the best damn cold brew in Phoenix. But our real mission is to provide jobs for the formerly incarcerated and to bring attention to the need for meaningful justice reform. My connection to this is quite personal. More than a decade ago, when my son was in college, Dustin, he became involved with a young high school girl. And that led to a 5-year prison term, lifetime probation, and the sex offender registry. When he came home in 2015, he was just overwhelmed with the complexities of navigating reentry. There are roughly 45,000 state and federal laws that restrict the freedoms of people after they have already paid their debt to society, including where they can work, who they can date, whether or not they can travel, and any violation of these terms can mean a return to prison. And one of the greatest barriers for Dustin was employment. He had as many as 10 jobs a year, and many of them were quite exploitative. At times, because he has a strong work ethic, he'd be invited to apply for a promotion. And then during that application process, he'd come under additional scrutiny, even though he had disclosed his past upon being hired initially. And so he'd be fired. And when that happened, he could be unemployed for as much as 3 months while he was trying to find another job. Leads to housing instability, an inability to pay these state mandated fees, and just a plethora of other problems. So pretty soon he just quit applying for promotions, which meant that every job he took was a dead-end job. He could never move up or move ahead in any company that he worked for. And I know that this is anecdotal, but this is not just happening to Dustin. We work in this space and we hear similar stories from countless others who are just trying to navigate reentry and become responsible citizens. And we finally realized that if Dustin was going to have a stable future, we would have to start our own company. And so that's how Justice Java was born.
Thank you, Vicki. I appreciate your willingness to share your story and get involved in this issue. I manage a workforce development platform called Pipeline AZ. We do career exploration, but we also connect job seekers to employers based on skills. And I found that in talking to some of the workforce development organizations that support job seekers, a lot of them were, explaining to me that, they have eligible job seekers who are qualified for different positions. And so to us as a workforce development platform, it became an issue we realized we needed to get involved in. And so I'm wondering, Aaron, from your perspective and also from Hickman's perspective, why did this become an issue for Hickman's? Why did your company decide, we really need to address this issue specifically?
Yeah, I think so. It really starts with Hickman's and the family and their family business, and I think they were able to recognize early on that there's a shortage of labor, and they have a very unique business that it was really hands-on, really open for people who could come in and just and wanted to work. People who are really hungry to work. And I think this population that we're working with, people who are formerly incarcerated, a lot of them aren't given a fair chance. A lot of them are just looking for a second chance. So I think that kind of started the conversation initially. So it was kind of a perfect marriage between myself and Hickman's, because I was also, before coming to Hickman's, I was working as a correctional officer first, and then I moved on to be a parole officer. So I was seeing firsthand that a lot of the guys that are coming out of prison are just not set off to a good start. Just like Vicki explained, when her son came out, he just hit with roadblock after roadblock. And, Hickman's was in a place where they had provided this opportunity for not only people coming out of incarceration, but people during their incarceration, giving them the opportunity to work on the farm. So when we actually came together, we were kind of both in a place of what can we do to help people be successful after they get released. Even though they were offering the opportunity to people during their incarceration, there's kind of a drop off. People come out of prison, you go back into your community, even just the trek from the prison to the parole office, there's a lot of space in which people are getting lost. Just the fact that prisons drop people off at a bus station and say, here's $50, good luck, just in that instance there. So, I met one of the Hickmans we were volunteering at the prison, and I just brought up, I was like, as a parole officer, I was like, man, it would be wonderful if a company invested in these people before they got released from prison and said, hey, before you even hit the ground, we're going to help you with employment. We're going to help you with housing. We're going to help you with transitioning in this, this crazy world, that you're being let out to, that, also you're not very welcome to as well. So, what we're doing in reentry now was a result of, what Hickman's was seeing with their workforce, people who they had seen work and they were extremely reliable, extremely skilled. Hey, let's grab these people, let's support these people. And, they went out and grabbed someone who was very familiar with the corrections world, being myself, and they handpicked me because they thought that I was, someone who could usher these people into, the new life that they wanted to live. So I hope that answered the question. I kind of feel like I bounced around a little bit there.
No, that was great. No, it was really helpful in terms of understanding why you personally were interested in this, and Hickman's as well. And I think that they were really smart to not just try to go it alone, but to tap you and somebody who has a lot of experience in this space to kind of lead this effort on their behalf. And I'm so glad that you talked about, really the training and the support that takes place even before folks are released. So our organization is part of a larger group called the Partnership for Economic Innovation, and we've worked with the Brookings Institution. I was pulling some stats beforehand and saw that the approximate average wage of a released individual 1 year after release is $9,100. But that average increases marginally each year. And after the fourth year, it's about 18,500. But if there is any kind of training, support, career services while they're still incarcerated, by the fourth year, that increases to almost $30,000. So we know the economic impact that happens when we actually provide support, not only after release, but prior to as well. It was also interesting, you were mentioning the kind of the roadblocks, and Vicki mentioned that as well. I think there are a lot of misconceptions that employers have. Joel, your organization supports not just the formerly incarcerated, but also the larger Medicaid population. I'm wondering if you could speak specifically to what you see as some of the misconceptions that employers have when looking to hire these individuals.
Sure. I think that misconception actually, starts at just that general, poverty determination, and for folks who are on Medicaid, I guess if I can just reflect back on one thing that I've learned so far in this role that I've been in for a couple of years now, is that as we enroll new members into our plan, we send out what's called a health assessment, and we're getting a decent response. Obviously, not the response we would like, but it's amazing and humbling to see how many folks identify that, their financial insecurity and their need for employment assistance, and just, that underlying desire to want to contribute and want to go back to work is very, very profound in this population. But as you look at folks coming out of the Department of Corrections, or whatever criminal justice agency, you have those stigma that have been a part of other organizations that I've actually worked for, where if you have a blemish on your record, if you had a DUI 12 years ago, that automatically excluded you from employment. So I think there's just this broad brush dismissal that is ripe for education that really is based on just this idea that, folks coming out of jail or coming out of prison, they're going to steal, they're dangerous, they're this and that, and it's all really, I think, founded in just a lack of education and a lack of awareness that not everyone is committed to that life of crime or whatever you might want to call it. So it's the general stereotypes that we encounter as it relates to the perceptions about people who are coming out of an incarcerated setting. And again, what our approach is, and what we're partnering with our supported employment providers as we come across these scenarios, is really to just educate employers on the opportunity, on this invaluable resource that really is by and large untapped here in Arizona. So again, I'm not sure if I answered your question or not.
Yeah, no, that was helpful. Vicki, you talked about some of the roadblocks that, Dustin had experienced, and I'm wondering if you can kind of add to what he may have heard or what you've heard, some of the other folks you've hired, what they experienced in terms of misconceptions. And I know you and I have also talked about the benefits to hiring formerly incarcerated. And so I'm wondering, Vicki, if you can speak to not only the misconceptions, but what you see as benefits to providing employment to this group.
Yes, absolutely. I think the first misconception is one that I held myself, that our criminal justice system is fair and just, and that most people who are in prison are there for a good reason. I used to believe that. I don't believe it anymore. There are so many laws on the books that the average person commits 3 felonies per day. And if you happen to just be caught up or get a cop in a bad mood, or just even people that are really just out there doing their jobs in good faith, it's very easy to become system impacted. Things like public urination, all of that can land people in prison. Vandalism, having an air freshener hanging from your rearview mirror, as we've recently seen. So I think the criminal charges can be misleading. When my son was arrested, he was charged with 11 counts of dangerous crimes against children. It would make you think he's a multiple offender. It completely mischaracterized him having a relationship with one underage girl one time. So most of these things don't really disqualify people from holding the kinds of jobs that most folks offer. And sometimes, of course, some people really do need to go to prison. And so their charges might be more serious, but they are now somebody completely different. I just spoke to somebody who had a charge in California 25 years ago, drug charge with intent to sell. And she was just recently, within this year, denied employment at the dollar store. I mean, really? So I think that employers, I think that there are a lot of things that these people bring to the table. you know, they have skills, many of them, before they go into prison. Maybe they have a college degree. Maybe they have some other workforce background that they bring to the table, but now they can't utilize because of employment discrimination. I know a former physician that's now working at a call center. There's something that we call prison genuity. People in prison, they have to find ways to make do with very limited resources. So they are great at finding creative solutions to very common problems. They learn to barter, to build, to modify and monetize in very tight circumstances. So they could be a great asset to a growing business. And I think that people are suffering from a lot of misconceptions about what they really can offer and whether or not they really do pose a risk to their business. And the last thing I want to mention is just the social responsibility piece of it. Customers generally love to do business with people who do good in the community. So that can be a real selling point for folks.
Yeah, that's a great point. Erin, I know that, you have not only your experience working with Hickman's, but, your previous work experience. You must have heard a lot of different misconceptions and thoughts. I would love to hear your experience as well with that.
First and foremost, I think the misconception is that these people are not worth investing in, which is completely false. You alluded in the beginning that there's 39,000 people that are incarcerated, and one thing that people forget is that 95% of them are coming back into the community, and these are people that are going to be our neighbors. These are people that are going to be shopping in the grocery store with us. They're going to be at the park. So it would, it's good for us to invest in our neighbors. So why wouldn't it be good for us to invest in the people that are coming out of incarceration? One thing that I've seen firsthand is that, most of the people that I work with, they have, just because of the community as it stands now, there's limited opportunity. And this is something that all businesses should be aware of, is that, even someone like Vicky's son, if let's just say he is transformed and he is, someone who's hardworking and can get the job done, this is someone who's going to be extremely loyal to your company if you give him a shot, because of the limited opportunities that he has. And this is for the entire population. A lot of people are coming out and they're just hungry to get back to work, and they're hungry to start over. So this idea that investing in this community is a waste of time is false. At Hickman's alone, when I came into the company, you got to understand, I had a correctional officer, parole officer cap on when I came to Hickman's, and knowing that they hired felons and had inmates actively working there, I was a little standoffish in the beginning, but I was able to take a tour around the farm, and I was able to, the Hickmans, they made me work in each department before, I assumed my role. And each department I went to work in, I'm learning from the manager of that department, the head manager of that entire department, managing tons of employees and millions of birds and such. And just walking around with this person, realizing, like, hey, this person is a master of his craft. Like, he knows everything there is to know about this department. And here I am looking up to this person. And then we would sit down and debrief at the end of our tour, and the conversation would move to, yeah, I started working at Hickman's as an inmate. And then they offered me an opportunity when I came out. And then my mind was just blown. Here I am with these previous misconceptions and not knowing it, looking up to this person who was, a master at what they were doing. So I think we just have to, put our best foot forward as far as inviting neighbors back, not ex-felons, but the people who are going to be living next to us, and ask ourselves, do we want our neighbors to be productive? And do we want, the people who are going to have children going to school with our children to be productive?
That was great. Thank you. Really, really helpful and powerful story. Vicky, you look like you wanted to add something to that.
Yeah, I did just want to add, I think that everything Erin said is absolutely true. But I think one of the other things that we need to realize is by denying unemployment to this huge population of people, and by the way, these are our sons, our daughters, our fathers, our mothers, these are people. It's very easy to just say, well, they're criminals. Um, Statistics show that 1 in 2 Americans now have a family member who has been incarcerated at some point in their lives. And it's a huge economic loss to the community because it affects these entire families. We've got people thrown into the welfare system. They're on public assistance. It might send their children into the foster care system. And all those things cost us as taxpayers dollars and cents, not to mention the tax base and all of that. And that's not even considering the $1.3 billion budget for the Department of Corrections in Arizona. So I think the best way to ensure safer communities, like Erin said, welcome these people back. Don't, educate them, embrace them, and give them that chance to just be better than they were before.
And Mary, if I can just add one thing to just really emphasize what to Erin and Vicky's point is that currently on my team right now, I do have someone who has a felony experience, and the amount of dedication and commitment this person has to the work that they do blows me away every single day. And I don't know that if it wasn't for that previous life experience, that would have been the same outcome. But this guy is hands down one of the most committed individuals I've ever personally and professionally worked with. So I don't think that point can be underscored enough.
Yeah, I think, we've talked to different workforce development organizations, groups like Sanchez the Worker, who, they do a lot of work in trying to support felons finding employment. And in talking to businesses, that's one of the things that they say all the time to these companies is like, look, you don't know, not only are your misconceptions incorrect, but you're also really missing out on a really great, probably very loyal employee. When you look at your return on investment in terms of training dollars, like having somebody who actually sticks with your company and is loyal and stays there means you're getting so much more, and you're also making an investment back into the community. But it is hard to talk to businesses about that. And Joel, I know that your group works with a lot of different organizations that are supporting job seekers and helping them find employment, and that oftentimes these groups, they go to the same employers because they know that they're willing to hire felons. But having that conversations with employers who maybe aren't doing that, what are some of the things that you think businesses could be doing now? If they're hearing this conversation and they're like, I'm feeling better educated about this. I really want to start hiring felons, giving second chance employment. What are some of the things that businesses could do now to get started?
I think first and foremost, it's time to get really curious and understand, do the processes and practices and HR rules and regs that we have in place, are they relevant? Does this really make sense? Are we, why were these requirements put in place? And is there any rationale for doing business the way they're doing right now? And really just start to ask those questions. And I think more times than not, organizations, businesses, they're going to be really, really surprised. It's a lot of legacy. It's a lot of lore. And I think it's time to, really embrace a cohort of the population that can really add value. So I think it starts with just doing a real hard look at why you have the standards that you have in place, and is there opportunity to relook that, and to ask questions, and to educate yourself on this potential workforce. So I really think it starts with that look within, and asking why.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Aaron, I mean, obviously Hickman's not only dipped a toe, they took a big plunge into this issue, and hiring not only incarcerated, but felons and folks who've been released. But if you were talking to a smaller company that heard your story, heard what Hickman's is doing, what would you recommend that they do to get started?
Yeah, I think I would just build off of what Joel said. And, this idea of workforce reform, I think eventually it's going to be synonymous with just evolution of business. Because like I said before, a lot of people are struggling to hire people and to have enough people to, fill the roles that are needed for your company. And I think that, if you have a box on your application that says, check this if you're a felon, or if you see someone, it says talk about your felony, they say, I'll discuss at interview. I would say, use that as an invitation to find out more about someone, and really, get intrigued with, like, hey, this person is actively out here in the job market and they're actually hungry for employment. Let me find out what they did in the past. Let me find out what their past skills are. I rarely find people that I work with that don't have some sort of set skills from the past that are applicable today. So I would just, urge people to, let them get past that initial step. Like, don't just write them off when they check the box, like, hey, I'm a felon. Sit down with them. Even myself and our HR manager, those have been some of the most interesting conversations. And you start to realize that this hire would be a great thing, not only for the skills that they possess, but for the diversity that they bring to our company, to the community that is our company, to the culture of the company. There's just so much more that you can gain from, just taking it that very next step. And I also want to just talk about really quick before so I do get a chance to say this. You talked about the plunge that Hickman's has taken into this whole reentry world. And, it starts before people even get released from prison. And we have a connection with the case managers in the prison. We're able to call in and we actually do interviews while these people are in prison. And that's where the case management starts. It's like, hey, we want you to be a part of our program. What can we do right now to set you up for success? It's a mental thing as well. There's a bit of hope that comes there when they know before they even get released from prison, these people are going to invest in me. Like, I'm kind of worry free. I'm no longer going to be the person that gets dropped off at the bus stop and said and told good luck. But Hickman said they're actually going to pick me up from prison. We're going to go shopping for the necessities. They're going to put me into my brand new apartment, and they're going to, take me through their HR process and set me up with the job. Like, right then and there, the stakes are already high for this person because we've invested. It's like, there's so much more to lose. Not only did I not have the opportunity before, but now that they've risen the stakes so high, it's like, I'm going to bust my butt so hard to do the job they want me to do, because, I don't want to lose the investment that I already have in the community, this acceptance, this, the support, the foundation. I can't lose this again. I've already done it once. I'm not doing it again. So I would just say, even to the smaller companies, take that first initial step to invest in a conversation. Hey, why did you go to prison? And one thing you'll learn about people that have been to prison, they love telling their story about what led them to prison. So you'll definitely gain a lot more from just taking it one step further.
Thank you. Yeah, I think, so many great changes, policy and otherwise, start with just being willing to have conversations and listen to people and understand the individual stories. Vicky, what would you say could happen in terms of policy changes? So we're looking at what can individual employers do? What are misconceptions? Are there public policy changes that could be happening that we should be looking at to help?
Yeah, there are a few things. One is some legislation that folks have been working on this year, an expungement bill, and I don't think it made it through. But if we could allow people to have their records expunged, one of the things is there's really nothing in our system that allows for redemption for these folks, So if we could have something from the courts for these folks to say, look, I've been living a productive life for the last 10 years. Here's a validation from a judge. I think expungement is one. We could ban the box. Aaron mentioned just asking folks about their criminal history, but what if we don't even mention it? What if it's illegal to ask that question the same way it is to ask if you're married or how old you are or any other kinds of personal questions? This should be a right to privacy. So I think there are a number of things, but one thing I did want to mention that may go back to the previous question is there are two programs right now that employers can tap into. One is the federal bonding program, and this provides employers with $5,000 of fidelity bond insurance for 6 months at no cost. For hiring a formerly incarcerated worker. And then after 6 months, you can buy additional bonding if you like. And that's for employees that are 30 hours. And the other is the work opportunity tax credit. So employers can receive a tax credit up to $2,400 for hiring an individual within their first year after their release from prison. So these two things are there to help encourage employers to reconsider their policies. I think it's maybe a holdover from a prior era that we ask folks this question, and I think it's a practice that we should stop. And everyone that we hire goes through an interview process, whether they're formerly incarcerated or not. So use that opportunity to find out what are this person's skills? How do they fit within our organization? What is their ethos? Are they well-groomed? Are they all of those things that we might, that might hold us back?
Yeah. Well, it seems like it's a no-brainer. I mean, as Aaron was saying, talking to employers all the time, it is real hard to find talent right now. People are really struggling. You see the hiring now. People are also struggling on the other end, right? With finding childcare and other resources to be able to work during this time. But I think what you just mentioned in terms of the tax credits and the fidelity bond, there is support for employers. If you're having a difficult time finding talent, this just seems like a no-brainer. So we've only got a few minutes left. So I just want to go around and based on the conversation today, knowing that a lot of the audience is local business in Arizona, I just want everyone to kind of leave the group with, what you want their takeaway to be. And Joel, I'll start with you.
Thanks. First of all, thanks for the opportunity to present to this group of folks who can really make a difference. I think my takeaway or my wish for your takeaway is to really just be curious, ask the questions. Why are you doing things the way you're doing now? Why, are there things that are superficially or artificially put in place that are holdovers, like Vicky said, from a different time? Just ask those questions. And I think once you gain clarity on what's real and what's not real, this will open up the doors for a huge opportunity for you and your business to thrive. So that's my 2 cents. Thanks for the opportunity.
Thank you. Aaron, what do you want to leave everyone with today?
I'll just use Hickman's as an example. Like I mentioned before, there's a lot of different departments here at Hickman's, and I would say probably 8 of our 10 departments have I'm sorry, 8 of the 10 departments have managers who have a felony. They're ex inmates, and 8 of those 10 departments are headed up by someone who was incarcerated at one point. It works, and like I said, these people are worth investing in. And it sounds weird to say these people, but our neighbors are worth investing in. And not only that, but they have the same aptitude and the same skill and the same drive as any other person. Like I said, the only thing is they've had that one little mistake in the past. The other thing that we see is that, because 8 out of the 10 managers were ex-incarcerated, they also serve as like a beacon of hope, and they're in leadership roles, and they strive to be an example for people coming out of incarceration. So, the idea of mentorship for these people is huge. And, in my role, I love to be able to tell stories of the people that have come through and that have been successful. I would invite everyone to visit our Instagram page. If you have an Instagram page, Hickman's Reentry. And what I do is I just post stories up there, at least like one a month. Hickman's Reentry, that's the Instagram page. And you'll see like living, breathing people who have hit the ground running at Hickman's, and they're winning at life. So I would just say, use that as a takeaway. There is an example. And if anyone wants to connect with myself, you can, shoot me an email. If you want to come out and do a tour or just a virtual presentation for your organization, for your company, I can give you more insight as to how it is that we do what we do, how we provide that support, and how we're able to move people from, a day out of prison to a management role and leading the next, generation of employees.
Thank you. That's very generous of you, and sounds like a great opportunity, especially for HR departments everywhere. And we will, if you want to get in contact with any of the individuals here today, or have questions about, where you can find sources for any of the facts you cited, we can certainly get that to you. And then Vicki, I'll give you the last word and what you want the takeaway to be.
Yeah, I think we just need to stop worrying about people's past and think about where they are right now. Just trust in people. We really want a stronger community. And so, as I think we've said, that comes in supporting our neighbors, our sons, our daughters, our uncles and aunts, and our spouses as they come out. So I would encourage you to look to this community for building a stronger workforce. We are at justicejava.net, and we are happy to help in any way that we can.
Great. Thank you.